Okay, I'm taking a gamble here, but let's talk about jealousy. So I have been trying to talk about positive things here on my platforms, and I'm continuing to do so. And one of my favorite things to do is to tackle topics that are a little trickier, break them down into a simplified, easy to digest, easy to execute form. I do recognize that sometimes the way that I say things is overly complex because I try to hit all the little points and nuances to be as inclusive as possible and to be as clear as possible. So that's just part of the way I explain things and part of the way I like to express myself. So yeah, I guess I'm just a weird combination of simple and complex. Anyway, let's talk about jealousy. Okay. So jealousy is something that when I was a younger person, I mean elementary, middle, high school, I'm still a young person, but when I was back in grade school in that era of my life, jealousy was something that would often cause me to revert back into my shell. It's one of those emotions that when projected towards me or on me or in my field, made me feel very uncomfortable because it made me feel as though I was doing something wrong. Now that I'm older, I have more life experience, I'm more mature, I recognize that jealousy is definitely one of those emotions that is projected from somebody and it's a reflection of how they're feeling. Just because jealousy is projected on you does not mean you're necessarily doing anything wrong. Jealousy is definitely something that a lot of people have felt, whether you have been the recipient or the projector of jealousy, and many of us have been both at different times in our lives. Let's not lie to ourselves. Jealousy encompasses protectiveness and covetedness, and those two things are very important to understand because when you're protecting something, you're trying to shield it, you're trying to keep it safe. It's something you find vulnerable, or it hits a vulnerable belief or sore spot within you somewhere. Coveting is wanting something to be yours, and usually the kind of coveting that jealousy encompasses is when you feel like someone else has something that you want or you feel like you deserve, and you feel like you don't have that thing for whatever reason, so you'd like to covet that for yourself. I have most commonly witnessed and experienced jealousy in my life, usually from other women. I could make a whole video on this, but I've definitely experienced jealousy from men as well, but it's a different type of jealousy. But I think I might save that for another day or a part 2 or something, because I feel like my experience personally, having men be jealous versus women be jealous, are two totally different kinds of experiences, and usually they're about something else. So I'm just going to kind of focus on an example of women jealousy in this one, again, because I'm a woman and that's been my primary experience with jealousy. So I'm going to talk about that in this video. So I go to the gym regularly, but I was in the gym a few weeks ago doing cardio, running on the treadmill, and sometimes I have some of my best thoughts and ideas, and I had to quickly write this down because I was exercising and I knew I was going to forget this as soon as I stopped running, so I had to write it down while I was running. But anyway, so I had the idea and I will share it in just a second. But anyway, jealousy with women. Usually it's something about jealousy towards looks. Women are often jealous of each other's looks. Women can often be jealous or feel threatened by other women, especially if they have a boyfriend that might look in the direction of another woman or notice another woman. So there's often jealousy usually between their partners and looks. This is very normal. This is very common. Don't feel bad if you have felt jealous in this way, and don't feel bad if somebody else has projected jealousy on you in this way. These are very normal, natural emotions to feel. This is part of the human experience. So what could we do about this jealousy? Well, I had a couple solutions that came to mind, and one was learning to trust yourself. And I decided that this was probably the primary best solution for jealousy, and I will explain why. When you learn to trust yourself, you wholeheartedly trust yourself. That means you trust your abilities, you trust your judgment, you trust your emotional stability and control, you trust your action control. When you trust every part of yourself, and this is no small feat, mind you, this is something that has to be worked on like a muscle. Often it takes lots of time and experience in life to get this. I'm somebody that's still continuing to work on my inner trust every single day, and I feel like I've made immense growth in the past year with that. But yeah, it's something I still really have to work on, so by no means am I saying I'm the expert, but I determined that when you trust yourself, you're able to trust your judgment. When you trust your judgment, you're able to trust the people that you keep close to you, the people that get a closer look or a deeper look into your vulnerabilities. When you trust the people around you, you don't really have to worry if you're going to, in an example, have one of your close friends steal your boyfriend. Now, it can still happen. Don't get me wrong, can still happen. You can have really good judgment and really, really trust somebody, and there's that small percentage that something might still happen. But generally speaking, when you trust yourself and you trust your judgment and you learn to really pick up on that radar, you're not going to have shady people around that are going to try to covet and steal what you've got. So some people might think that it's a little backwards and they're like, I just need to find the right person I can trust. And yes, definitely use that judgment, use that proper inner trust and guidance and inner judgment to determine the right partner that would never put you in that situation, of course. But also, more importantly even, having people around you that you trust that also have very good inner compasses and radar. Not only can they help keep an eye out with you and for you, but they're not gonna be doing shady stuff behind your back, most likely. So inner trust, I feel like, is probably the number one solution to this. Really developing that within yourself. And you don't have to worry about your friends, and you don't have to really worry about your man, because there's a whole circle of trust now. And solution number 2 is to learn to look at jealousy as your friend, not your enemy. What do I mean by this? Jealousy is an emotion. It comes up to alert you of internal feelings and information. It's trying to bring your awareness to something. That's why we have our feelings. They're all there for a purpose, to teach us something deeper about ourselves. So instead of fighting jealousy, seething, feeling that poisonous, envious feeling within, instead of letting it spread, instead of feeding it with fear and anger and resentment, or wanting more and more, instead of trying to push and spread jealousy, make jealousy your friend. When it comes up, embrace the jealousy. Acknowledge the jealousy. All right, I'm feeling jealous right now. What am I feeling jealous of? Answer the question for yourself. Either internally, write it down, speak it to yourself if you're alone. Acknowledge, okay, I'm jealous of this reason, or I'm jealous of something somebody did, or the way somebody appeared, or whatever the reason may be. And then ask more questions about that. Why am I jealous about that? Well, I don't feel like I really have that, and I keep trying to do my best, and I don't feel like I'm there yet, yada yada. Be like, okay, all right, I hear you. Continue to ask questions and repeat this to yourself until you start to feel better, until you feel the restlessness of the jealousy within you begin to simmer down a little bit. And then be kind to yourself, acknowledge yourself, say, hey, you know what? I'm proud of you for acknowledging this jealousy, and it's totally okay. It's totally normal. It's totally natural to feel this way. That person is XYZ. That person is very talented or very beautiful, or they do have a lot of this. That's right. But that doesn't mean that you are any less. That doesn't mean that you're not doing enough. And it also doesn't even mean that you don't possess that quality that you see in somebody else. You may very well possess that very thing that you're coveting, but you haven't recognized a way to see it within yourself yet. So jealousy can be a very powerful ally when you learn to embrace it and use it to your advantage. Instead of weaponizing jealousy against each other, let us use jealousy as a mirror to learn more about ourselves within. Because when you are no longer a victim of jealousy, you can really begin to reap the benefits and learn lessons even faster and even better. You learn to become your own best friend, you learn to laugh things off, and you also learn to gain self-confidence. It's kind of a cool side effect that I've noticed actually. You do become more confident within yourself because you begin coveting less and less and less of what other people have, and you start appreciating more and more and more what you already have within yourself. And if you really feel like you don't have something, you understand that A, it's only a matter of time before you get it, or B, you go and look for a solution for how to obtain that thing. And you also don't worry about it because you know that, yeah, if it's important enough to you, you'll find a way to get it. And maybe you'll get it, you'll feel awesome and it's great, and maybe somewhere along the line you'll decide, I really don't care. I really don't need that as much as I thought I did at the time. And you'll let it go. So either way, it's kind of a win-win. So I hope you guys enjoyed that little conversation. I hope that I was able to shed a new perspective on the emotion of jealousy and kind of put a positive spin on it. It's one of those tricky things that doesn't have to be too tricky. Sometimes it just requires a little bit of guidance or a little bit of simplification in order to gain a little bit more distance from the problem and gain a little more perspective. That's some of the stuff that I'm really good at and some of the stuff I really like talking about. If you guys have anything you want to add to the conversation, go ahead and leave it in the comments and we'll chat about it. And as always, I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, a wonderful week ahead, and remember to stay grounded, my friends.